He has not said he's offended at blackface. He has said he's offended that when they implemented the costume that he saw in the photographs they first showed him, that the costume wasn't accurate enough. In other words, the implication is, if they bothered to make the effort to get the costume accurate, he's not offended by the face paint. Nowhere in his quote has he mentioned painting your face black. He's mentioned bones through the noses, feathered headdresses, and making him look like a cross between a Viking and a showgirl. Nowhere has he said he finds the act of white people painting their faces black offensive. Why is that important? I find it offensive. But why is it important to point out that he doesn't? That Tunde Gomade doesn't? Because he's the Zulu, not me. And that leads to the next point. That when I'm asking the question, is blackface always wrong, or does the time and place make a difference? Essentially, I think the time and place and the context in which it comes does make a difference. There's nothing inherently wrong with painting your face. There is something, say, inherently wrong with murder. There's nothing inherently wrong with painting your face. And the Zulu leader of the dance troupe Zulu tradition has made that clear in his remarks. It's wrong in a Western context for certain historic reasons. For the way in which racism manifested itself in this way, in a context in which people of colour were a minority in these societies and still are. It can be objected to because of the way in which it was used to steal representation of people of colour in media. When people of colour and historical figures were portrayed in Hollywood by white people who blacked up instead of allowing black actors to play those roles themselves because of segregation. It's offensive for all of those reasons, and really probably, it shouldn't be done. It's a tradition that should be abandoned without law. There's no need to ban things, just common sense. But what this does point to is the following, that it's for those historic and contextual reasons that I may find it morally objectionable. Morally, not legally, I make that very clear. But there are other contexts and other histories and other countries and other cultural contexts where it's not offensive. And this Zulu leader, Tunde Gomade, has made that abundantly clear, and he's the Zulu, not me. And if he came to this country and said that the photos he saw were not offensive and that they were indeed flattering, which is how he first described them, and he's only upset that the implementation of that practice didn't represent the photos he saw, then his issue was one of accuracy, which I imagine could be resolved if the Lewis Festival paid Zulus on commission to act as their consultants to accurately represent their tradition. If that were to happen, Tunde Gomade and the Zulu Nation and the Zulu Tradition Dance Troupe wouldn't have been offended. Which raises this huge question, that if the Zulus weren't offended, why are we? And I think the difference here leads to another point. And that is the irresponsibility of the Lewis Festival. Because they should have realised that the offence at blackface is context and culture specific. And they shouldn't have hoodwinked somebody who's not from this culture, not from this context, who hasn't been made aware of the historical controversy of blackface in places like Hollywood and the United Kingdom, and to hoodwink him without briefing him on that, just so they can get a rubber stamp for their own festival. There was the mistake.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.